Good evening, this is Sir Romany Rye back again. I'm going to follow on now from last night. A little funny one this morning. I had me mum's baby sister on the phone, Aunt Lizzie. And she said, "Do you mind if I asked you a personal question?" I said, "It depends how personal it is." Well, then she got talking about things that we shouldn't be talking about. When I was getting where I wanted to be with it, she said, "Now that's enough." But we had a laugh. We was on the phone for over an hour. Anyway, following on from yesterday, no question about it. That's what was said to me. No partners, and your mother didn't want to live here anyway. Anyway, I was still going out with Jed at this time, and it all fell to pieces, to be honest. And we finished up, and I ran to me mum's family for support, I suppose, and help. And at that time I was very friendly with my cousin Kenny Willoughby. And I went out and spent a lot of time out Camborne with my Aunt Edith. So another thing that happened to me was the bungalow that my father built, because he built a bungalow around the Green Up. Told me where, commandeer it. So in moves Tommy and Jenny into my mum and dad's bungalow. Without any say-so from me, they just moved in. And that really capped it off. So what they wanted to do to solve their own conscience was give me £5,000 for my share of the business. Well, I'll show you some photographs later of the night my dad died, because he and his brother-in-law, Tony Lewis, Uncle Tony, they had a photograph taken in the yard. Now the yard was jam-packed from top to bottom. So if I didn't have a share in the business, what was they offering me any money for? Anyway, my Uncle Harry, that's my father's brother, he was absolutely livid. He didn't agree with what was going on. So me and he went into business together, as we was making, by this time, we was buying and selling all sorts. Me and he was making a living out of Reduced Market. We was buying stuff out of factories and wherever we could get it. And he got in with McSalvers, my Uncle Harry, and the stuff McSalvers didn't want, we used to take into Reduced Market on a Friday morning. That's, what shall we say, timber. They used to go mad for timber in there. 4x2, 6x2, 2x2, bundles of it. We'd go round to the timber merchants and buy out what they had in the back of their yards. And we was making, you could go to Reduced Market on a Friday morning and take 1,400 quid, easy. So we decided to open a second-hand timber yard down Penryn. And that's what we did. Only lasted for about 4 or 5 months. But that's what we did. So anyway, that didn't really work out. So we went our separate ways again. So the £5,000 that I supposed to have had, I never accepted it as being in payment for my share of the business. Why would I? I didn't want to sell no part of the business. It was only their conscience they was trying to salvage, in all honesty. Anyway, Donald Tangy, the chap that I told you about, he continued to work on for Tommy. And me and Donald was very, very, very close. And he was working on for Tommy, and I went then. My father used to do a lot of business with a man called Charlie East. Now, Charlie East took over Will's scrapyard out in Lugan. But it wasn't a scrapyard as such, it was lorries. He used to do a lot of export. Anyway, Charlie got hold of me and said, would I come out and cut up these dust carts? I said, yeah, I'll cut them up for a price. 70 odd dust carts there. So we agreed a price. And the deal was that I was to cut the dust carts up, put the engine and gearboxes one side, and the chassis and the alley and stuff would be stacked and put away. And when we had enough tonnage there in the iron, he would sell the iron, and I would get half the longer for the iron. So that's what the deal was. So months went on, and this Charlie East thought he was clever. So I had about 200 ton of steel there in heap. And I think at the time it was £60 a ton. So it's about 12 grand's worth. So I worked it out in my head that he owed me about 6 grand. So I said to him this particular morning, I said, Charlie, I said, that iron pile now, I said, I cut up all the dust carts. I even had my Aunt Edith's boy Brian out there helping me. And by this time, I was living away from my granny's, staying at Aunt Edith's. I was going wherever I could. Me and Uncle Harry was all right. We got on all right. When the deal come up for the two of us, we done it. When it didn't, it didn't. Anyway, I said to this man, Charlie East, I said, Charlie, about time to sell that iron. He was a cockney. No, mate, it's all right. We'll wait for the price to go a bit more. Another month went by. I said to Brian, will it be? I said, this ain't gonna happen much. Now, Charlie never used to come there all the time. So I give him one last chance when he come down. And he always used to pay you with a kite anyway, no really longer. So I wrote out the money for me labour. And I said, what about this iron, Charlie? No, mate, don't worry about it. When I sell it, it'll be all done. I said, no, it's not when you sell it, mate. I said, it's when we sell it. I said, it's about time it should be sold. It was all cut up 5x2 steel, no rubbish in it. Anyway, I said to Brian, he ain't gonna pester me. So I had a little truck on a trailer. So I said to myself, fuck this. So I backed the trailer into the radiator shed. And I loaded up 2 ton of rats. I brought them home and I stacked them just outside my bungalow, to the left. Went back. Next day, I said to Brian, what will it be? We're going to load all the Bedford gearboxes. About 30 of them. Loaded the Bedford gearboxes up, brought them home, put them in the shed. I know what they was worth because I was selling stuff to Roger James and myself. A Bedford gearbox for them was worth £100. So, loaded up the Bedford gearboxes, and there was about, I suppose, 3/4 of a ton of alley there. Loaded that up. So, never said nothing to Charlie East, not a word. He come down, never bothered to look in the sheds or nothing. Paid me my wages. I said, Charlie, the iron, mate. Oh, mate, don't keep on. It'll be all right. I said, that's all right. I'll sort it out myself. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, don't worry about it. Anyway, something must have twigged in his brain, because he opened up his sheds. No radiators, no gearboxes, and no alley. It wasn't long. He come to find me. He said, mate, for 2 pence, he said, I smack you in the mouth. I said, what do you mean? Smack me in the mouth. I said, you're an old man, and fuck off. Go away from me. About smacking somebody in the mouth. He said, you've got me gearboxes and me radiators in my alley, haven't you? I said, yes, I have. I got them. So when you sell the fucking iron, and I get me share, and I see all the waivers tickets, I'll give you that lot back. Oh, no, it's in like that, mate. I want to get the police. I said, will you do that? You get the police. I said, I don't give a fuck about the police. Anyway, he told Tommy. Tommy told me granny. She said, that's the stuff that's over there, isn't it? I said, yeah. That's the stuff that's over there. I said, it's my stuff. Well, I don't think it's right what you're doing. That's what she said. I said, you don't think it's right what I'm doing? Well, so I told her the tale. She still wasn't fully convinced. By this time, my relationship with her was broke right down anyway. Anyway, Charlie's tried to get the stuff back. I said, that stuff ain't going nowhere. So he sold the iron, and it come to about 9 grand, I think it was. That's what he said. And I knew I was in this job all my life. I knew it wasn't right. So I took back what it was, and I kept back about 2 grand's worth altogether after he'd given me a bit of money, because I was no way being done out of that. There's another story I'll tell you about that. No, I'll tell you it now. Whilst all this was going on, Charlie East had a builder in there building these sheds. A bloke called John. He was from Liverpool. Scouser. So, over in the corner of the field, in the yard, was a complete building, but it was all in steel sections. So John come to me, he said, Clarence, he said, I got to get all those steels out to put this building up. He said, we've dug all the pits. We just got to lift the uprights in. I said, well, it's all over there, John. He said, I know, mate. He said, but I'm not used to handling these fucking great steel girders. He said, would you give me a hand? I said to Brian, my cousin, I said, yeah, all right, we'll give him a hand. Anyway, he sends a digger over, and these steel girders are lying in the long grass, and there was mud banks everywhere. It was a lash up. So I said to him, put the chain on the end of the girder and let he pull him out, and then we'll have the digger with the forks on and pick him up with the forks. All right, he said. But what he didn't do right, and this is true what I'm telling you, as God is my witness, it's true what he's telling me. He put the chain on the wrong end, told the digger driver to go forward. Well, as the digger driver went forward, one end of the girder dug in the ground. Digger driver wouldn't look at what he was doing, to be fair. He kept going, and the girder dug in the ground and come up in the air like that and fall right on top of him. Right on top of his head. Now, the digger driver saw what happened eventually, and he was beeping his horn and shouting and waving his arms. When I got over there, the girder had hit in the side of the head here and pushed his head right down in the mud. So we pulled the girder off, and I was trying to dig under his head because his nostrils and that was in the mud. I was trying to dig under his head like that. By this time, David Adams' wife, who was on site, rang for the ambulance. So I was digging under like that, under the ground, and nobody knew it, what I'm going to tell you now. He had a fucking wig on. And when I was digging like that, it was as if the whole top of his fucking head come off. Because the blood was pumping out from the side of his head. I was digging under like that. Brian Willoughby, he took off running. I felt like running, but I couldn't run. I had to stay there. And when I eventually, because when this happened, like for 2 seconds, you think, fuck, top of his head's come off. But I realised it was a wig. So I pulled all that out of the way, and he was breathing because I could see the the stuff come out of his nose, and he was breathing, but he was unconscious. Couldn't move him because didn't want to move him, didn't know what damage we'd do or what we didn't want to do anyway. The ambulance come and they taped him all up with his fucking tape and rolled him over on the stretcher and put him in the thing, and away he went. Digger driver was in total shock. And he had a plate. He eventually had a plate in his head with a small pipe coming down the back of his neck like that, and he was constantly draining fluid off his brain. But Charlie, he shit himself over that. He said to me, Clarence, make sure you tell him you told him what to do and he done it wrong and it wasn't my fault and all this. And now you go fuck yourself, Charlie. I wouldn't hide up that for no man. I said, you told that man to do that job and he didn't know what he was doing. And I said, yeah, I told him to hitch the fucking chain on the end of the girder, but I told him not to hitch it on this end, that end. And then the girders would have just come out, be pulled out. But I think Charlie got done over that in the end because I left by that time, by the time all that was done. So anyway, time went on, and like I said, I had myself a pickup and a trailer, and I was getting myself a decent living, and I bought myself, first of all, I bought myself a TK 330 up in Blackbush Auctions, and I sold that one and I bought a IAB lorry off of Michael Wills. And tell you the truth, I didn't have enough money to pay Michael for this lorry. And I said, Michael, I want the lorry. I said, but I'm probably going to be 500 or 600 quid short. Don't worry about that, he said. Take the lorry. And when you've got the money, you pay me. Well, as it happened, within 2 weeks, I give him his bit of money. But I'll never forget Michael Wills for that. Good man to me, he was. Anyway, time went on. And I got myself on my feet real cushy. And Edith, I was out there all the time. And by this time now, Sally Ann, that's Aunt Clarice's oldest girl, moved in with my granny. And lo and behold, what happened? Tommy and Jenny moved out of my mum and dad's bungalow. Not only did they stay in it, they ransacked it. And they took stuff out of it. So, all my father's pocket watches, not all of them. Some of them, they said that they wanted this and they wanted that. And I'd give them this and I'd give them that. I had no control over nothing whatsoever. I was lucky to be able to stay there. Anyway, I went calling one Sunday afternoon. I was back with Jed then. And this is a job that helped me on my way. I was down Hale. And I drove past the milk marketing board. And I dicked it over like that. There's 4 TKs there. Thought, oh, there's a nice little lot. So I goes back in there on the Monday morning. Calls the man. Out he comes. He said, right. I said, yeah, right, mate. I said, these Bedford lorries here. I said, what's happening to them? You won't get there, he said. I said, no. Oh, Frank Stevens, I was, eh? I said, Frank Stevens. I said, who's he like? He said he got a little small holding on the back roads over there. He said he's in an old railway yard. Very funny man, he said. Anyway, I got roughly to know where he was. So I said to Jed, I said, next Sunday we're going to look for this homeless. Jumps up in the car, off he goes. Sure enough, we find this homeless. He had a gate with no entry on it and a bit of a garden gate. So a ghost knocks on the thing. Anybody about? I shouted again. Who is it? I said, I come to see about any Bedfords you might have. Nothing here for you, he said. Nothing here at all. I said, well, you don't know, I said, unless I tell you what I want. No, nothing here for you. He said, I've had your kind here before. I said, what do you mean, my kind? He said, you want something for nothing? I said, I don't want nothing for nothing. With that there, Jed got out the car. Now, the homeless must have thought I was a dinny, but soon as he dicked my missus, he went out of the way completely. He said, what are you after? I said, I'm buying Bedford stuff. I said, for export. Oh, what I got's too good for export. I said, well, that's fair enough, I said, but you could look like you've got a lot of stuff around here. I said, any old scrap for sale, anything to get? He started laughing. He said, "Huh." He said, do you know how many people I get here for this scrap? He said, but I tell you one thing, shall I? I said, what's that? He said, I've never had a scrap man that would take away my light iron, my rubbishy stuff. They just always come and take the good stuff and leave the rubbish. I said, is that so? He said, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what then, how about I clear up all your rubbish, then we'll talk about the good stuff. He said, if you do that, he said, we'll talk about it. So that's what I done. I was in there pulling TK cabs, 45-gallon drums, cars, doors, bonnets, wings, you name it. Anyway, I was in there for about 2 weeks pulling this stuff out of there. And Malcolm Jew was the only one really buying light iron then. So I pulled it into Malcolm. I didn't make any money on that really, just broke about even. Now I got into the good stuff. And I was having stuff out, old stuff, old mining stuff and all sorts of stuff that had a lot of gunmetal in it. But the old chap didn't gin that, all he was interested in was getting rid of the iron and being paid. Anyway, cleaned his farm right up. Nothing left in the farm at all. Now, we got to knowing that well, that on a Sunday, Jed were making a pie or a pasty or whatever, and we'd taken down a load of food on a Sunday. And we got in and out his time. Almost now was like butter. He said, right. He said, I've known you long enough now, he said. We've cleared all that out. You've paid me up. I'll take you down the yard. Fuck me when I gets down the yard. Bedford lorry after Bedford lorry, all Unigates, lined up. He was mad on them. Bloody hell, I said, a nice lot of stuff here. Yeah, he said, and all that stuff over there. There was a couple of rapier cranes, all sorts. Anyway, he got to trust me. I think at the time, I wouldn't lie, I think the Bedford engine and gearbox was about 800 quid. The back axle was probably 200 quid. 2 front of axles was another 100 quid. And you could sell the brake thing anyway. So I ended up buying it all off him. I was in there for weeks cleaning out. Now, Harry, my uncle Harry, take me down there, mush. I said, no, I don't need any help. Anyway, took him down there. Old man Stevens took one look at me, Uncle Harry, and he said, don't bring in no more. Don't bring in no more, he said. You won't have no more stuff. Anyway, there was a row over that. My grandmother said I should have let them have half and all this fucking rubbish. So I had that on my back. So me and Jeb was back together and I was going on all right. And Tommy Ware had the fucking audacity to ask me to take some medals up to Plymouth for him. Anyway, bearing in mind, my father paid for everything for that woman, his mother. Bearing in mind, I was supposed to be living there. She charged me £50 a week keep. It's not the 50 quid. It's the principle of the thing. So, time went on and went on. And I was doing all right. And Donald was close to me because he was close to my father. So by this time, Tommy Ware started to build a new metal shed in the yard. Now, my grandfather's sacred wish was nobody should touch his bamboos or his apple trees. That all went out the window, boy. They took the fucking lot down. Apple trees, bushes. I got him sitting under his favourite apple trees and his bushes. That was always supposed to stay there. Mother, don't let nobody touch their apple trees or their bushes. So, the next thing was, Tommy went away on holiday. And this is another crunch part. While he was away, my Uncle Harry went to Max Salvers and bought 50 ton of iron off him. But it was all mixed. A lot of old jerry cans that had holes in them and 45-gallon drums, a lot of girders, a lot of chains, pulley blocks, all mixed up. Anyway, this is how it all came out. Because Harry was very forthright. He wouldn't hold nothing in. So I was in sitting down having a cup of tea. In pulled Uncle Tommy, my father's brother, after he'd been on holiday. Walked down the yard, and Donald was down the bottom, cutting up away. So he looked around these piles, and he said to Donald, where's this come from? And had a lot of light iron in it. And we never dealt with light iron, really. The family. Malcolm Drew was the light iron man. So Donald said to him, look, Tom, there's nothing to do with me. Go up and see your mother. So by this time, Harry turned up. And was sitting down in the kitchen having a cup of tea. Now I could see me granny's mood changed. Her whole body language changed. In come Tommy like a raving fucking bull. Who's tipped that fucking rubbish in there in the yard here? So my granny said, that's Harry's. He said, get the fucking stuff out the yard, get the fucking lorries here, and I'll grab it in the bins and I want it gone. So I said, don't worry about it, I said. Tip it on my half of the yard. Don't worry about it. He looked straight at me and said, you haven't got no half of no yard. So Harry flew up out the chair and said to his mother, what the fuck have you done, mother? Now she took off running out the kitchen, screaming. Harry after her, Tommy after he, there's fucking murders up. So it transpired that she sold Tommy the yard for 500 quid. That was including my share. Now if you think back, my father and Tommy paid the other two out of the property. So there wasn't no share. It was my father and Tommy. She sold Tommy that fucking yard. And he turned round to me and he said, you haven't got no share. Harry said, what the fuck have you done, mother? And she took off running. So that's the end for the night. It's goodbye for now from the Romany Rye, and I'll catch you tomorrow.